Hello again and welcome to the Warhammer 40k Imperial Guard Tactics video. So before we get into today's video, as per tradition, I would like to say a big thank you to Michael Bauer for sending in some absolutely epic pictures of his Imperial Guard and Imperial Knight army. Absolutely epic. It's a combination of the 232nd Cadians Gambit Infantry Company with the 32nd Rolling Thunder Tank Division supported by the 53rd Screaming Eagles Tempestus Drop Force. And of course, the Knights are part of House Griffith. Absolutely awesome combined arms force. Really, obviously love the Knights and the really sort of stark contrast with their bright colours for their paint scheme with these more sort of drab tactical colours of the Guard. Had to say, really cool combination there. I imagine that would look very epic on the battlefield. So thank you, Mikey, for sending those pictures in. If anyone else has got any cool pictures they would like me to use in my videos or just to share, please post them on my Facebook page. There will be a link down in the description below. Now, without further ado, let's get on with today's video. So I had a request from a commenter saying, Mordian Glory, could you please do an update on your infantry tactics and give us an update on what sort of pure infantry lists you have been running recently? Well, I most certainly can, and it's quite good because it ties into one of the videos I did at the end of last week, which was command point spam. Okay? So, as I said in that video last week, what I've been doing with pretty much every army, but especially with my Guard, is I've been running a minimum of 3 battalions. Now, how I like to do this with my pure infantry is I essentially like to see each battalion as a platoon. The old school platoon formations that we used to, well, not in formations, but troop choices we used to get. So for those of you who are new to the Imperial Guard and have only really known it as the Astra Militarum, we used to, as a troop choice, got something called a platoon. So obviously now we get a squad, an infantry squad. Well, back in the day, we used to get something called an infantry platoon, and what it was almost like an army within an army. It was like a detachment within a detachment. And it was, as one troop choice, you took a command squad with a junior commander, and then a minimum of 2 infantry squads, but you could take up to 4 more infantry squads, and then conscripts, and then heavy weapons, then special weapons, and then dedicated transports. And yeah, so in one troop choice you could get something like over 100 models. Absolutely. Back in the day, with the way that you only got one detachment, and it was like a combined arms detachment, it was really powerful. But Games Workshop dropped it, which meant, you know, I was sad because it meant it was a unique thing to the Guard, and we lost a bit of fluff when we lost the platoon. But it was obviously very good because, and tactically, because it means we can now fill out battalions and brigades very easily. And that is the cornerstone of my pure infantry tactics, which is I take 3 battalions and I run them like I run my old platoon. So I basically run 3 armies within my overall army. And I use each of these battalions as a force that has its own battlefield objective. So I will go, right, you know, I've got 3 battalions at my disposal here. I'm going to send Battalion A is going to just go down that flank. There's an objective on that side of the board. I want to take it. Battalion B is going to hold. Battalion C will see where I need it. Maybe I'll put it out on the flank. Maybe I'll you know, do another. We'll do like a sort of Zulu buffalo horns formation, or maybe if we just need to hold the line, I will just do platoon 1 strung out across the front, platoon 2 strung out, platoon 3. You know, it gives me flexibility. So they're the general tactics, and I've talked about those sort of 3-line tactics before, and you know, my 3-army tactics before. So. But obviously I spoke, the tactics have pretty much remained the same, and they've remained the same for more than just 8th edition. Through 6th and 7th edition, these tactics were honed and refined, and they pretty much stay the same. My pure infantry tactics do not require a lot of updating. The key, they just work. They're timeless, and the general, you know, principle is you have more numbers than they can possibly kill. And in terms of how do you solve the mobility issue, well, 1, you have ultimate board control. You know, you have 60 men You have, well, more than that. It's ridiculous. You have a lot of men per, basically, third of the table. Now, the general principle is you never stop advancing. You always push forward because you continuously have the momentum, you continuously put pressure on the enemy, and you can eventually something will crack and then you will win. And it's very powerful having a shooting horde in 8th edition. Very, very powerful. It's why Imperial Guard are still, even after many nerfs and things, still one of the best pure top mono armies out there. So that's the general tactics. Those of you who have seen my channel will know I will go into more in-depth pure infantry tactics and stuff. I've got a new series coming up which will highlight that perfectly. So don't worry too much. I know I'm skimming over it now. What I'm going to focus on, that was sort of the introduction to get to wet your whistle, so to say. What we're going to talk about now is what I imagine most people are looking forward to, is what is my current pure infantry list. Okay. What is my current pure infantry list? Well, I will tell you. Okay, it's very simple. We'll go through it together now with the points. Okay, so what I do is I take a battalion, okay, and the battalion is led by a company commander. Okay, it's also led by a Lord Commissar. Now, the reason we're taking a Lord Commissar is because, quite frankly, in a pure infantry army, morale's going to be an issue. Okay, we're going to need that leadership 9. So we take a company commander and a Lord Commissar. At the moment, they're just bare bones, but we'll come back around to upgrades and stuff later. Working our way down the sort of hierarchy, down the force organisation chart, what we have then is the elites. Now, what we start off with is some more support characters. We take a platoon commander, because we want those orders. We take a regular commissar as well. And we take an astropath. They're the support characters. Then we start adding in, so we've got 5 characters so far. Then we start adding in actual squads. So then we have a command squad. Now the reason we're in that command squad, we take 3 sniper rifles, because they're cheap. And we take a regimental standard. Now what we've got there, guys, is layers of morale mitigation. We've got a Lord Commissar, great. But these days you've got things like Vindicate Assassins popping up all over the place. You need a fallback plan. Fallback plan is your regular Commissar, but also, he might die, so the fallback on that is your platoon commands, is your command squad. Because the flag gives you +1 leadership to everyone in 6 inches. So pretty much, no matter what regiment you are, whether you're Catachan or Mordian or Cadian's very competitive, you've got leadership 9 through to leadership 8 stacking buffs. Okay, so you've got redundancy. Then we add in a special weapons squad. Okay. Now, for now, this can change, but bear with me for now. For now, we're just going to give those 3 grenade launchers. Now, you might say, why are you taking grenade launchers on them? It's to keep them a low threat. What I've learnt, and this is going to sound heretical, what I've learnt, especially for my Gene Stealer cult armies with my mass neophytes, is grenade launchers are really good now that the 3 points. And pretty much every game I play now, I spam a lot of grenade launchers. And the reason for that is, if your opponent sees plasma, he knows to kill the plasma. If your opponent sees grenade launchers, he doesn't fear them until they start chipping away every turn. And when you're running, well, as you'll see, many grenade launchers, all those frag grenades start adding up very quickly. But again, the opponent doesn't really recognise them as a main threat. But they can just slam. They're almost like mobile mortar squads. That's how I like to see them. Then we add in, so that's 5 elite choices, but you do get 6 in a battalion. I used to think it was only 5. You get 6 elite choices in a battalion, guys. we add in a squad of veterans, because they're only 50 points now. And what we do is we add in a squad of veterans, and we make them have another 3 grenade launchers and a missile launcher. Now the reason we do that is we have a little bit of anti-tank with the missile launcher, but again, it's not a las cannon, so people aren't going to be quite shitting themselves over it. But it also means that we have a huge amount of firepower that can come from one squad. 3d6 grenade launcher shots plus d6 missile launcher shots. That gives us a lot of flexibility. And that is our elite choices. We then, and now you can choose, your mileage may vary here, but what I like to do is to take 6 squads of infantry, each one with a melter gun. Okay. Now there's a reason I do this. Firstly, now you could very easily, if you want to, swap that out for plasma. Very easily. Absolutely fine. You'll save yourself 3 points. Go for it. Not a problem. There's 2 reasons why I use melter. Number one, it fits in with my traditional Mordian weapon choice, fits with the fluff behind my army of the Mordian melter hedge. And 2, I have a lot of melter models, but I don't have a huge amount of plasma models in my army. My Steel Legion have loads of plasma, but my pure infantry doesn't. And 3, sometimes as I've said this before, sometimes you just need a melter gun. But I will say there's nothing wrong with just swapping all that out for plasma. Essentially, if you budget for melter, you've also budgeted for plasma. Think of it that way, points wise. Right, then you add in a single heavy support choice, which I like to take an autocannon heavy weapon squad. Okay, now the reason I like to take my autocannon heavy weapon squads is because they are cheap. I don't like putting las cannons in there. They are cheap, but they also pack a punch. Okay, they pack a serious punch. So we take that. So that is our first platoon, right? And then we take another one of those exactly the same. So what you've got there, if we break it down so far, is you've got 2 company commanders, 2 platoon commanders, 2 Lord Commissars, 2 regular Commissars, 2 Astropaths for all your support characters, so you can sprinkle those through where you need, and then you've got quite considerable fire support. You've got special weapon teams, the grenade launchers. You've got veterans giving fire support, and you've got your heavy weapon teams as well. Plus, so there are all your supporting elements. Plus, you have 120 what I like to call assault infantry, which is you have 120 infantry with no heavy weapons attached to them, whose pure job is to push forward, take the fight to the enemy, screen out, do whatever they need to do. And don't forget, that's a lot of infantry that's just going on the offensive. I then like to add in a 3rd battalion. And this is my support battalion. Now in the past I've made mistakes. And what I've done is I've taken an equal amount of assault infantry and support infantry. And what I've realised now is it's actually very important and what I do is I take 9 out of the 18 infantry squads I'm going to take. I take 9 assault and 9 fire support. I've realised now that's not the right thing to do, because actually what you're doing there is only taking about 33% of your army is assault, and the other 66% is support, because you've got all your special weapons squads and your heavy weapon squads and your command squads. All those make up the rest of your fire support. So that's why now I've switched from having an equal amount to 2 assault battalions and 1 fire support battalion. And with that fire support battalion, I take again another company commander, take again another Lord Commissar. I take again another platoon commander, another regular commissar, another astropath, another command squad, another special weapons squad, and another veteran squad, same as before. Okay, and then of course I take my other autocannon special weapons squad, heavy weapons squad as well. Okay. Now then, what I do is the infantry squads is where it's different. So I take again 6 infantry squads, no questions asked. But on these infantry squads, without fail, I take las cannon and plasma. No questions about this at all. Okay? Now, that's pretty much the army there. Okay? So what you've got is 3 battalions. And in total, if you've been keeping track with me, that gives you 1,965 points. So what you have there, that's why I said we'll come back to upgrades later, is you have breathing room. You have 35 points at least to upgrade your characters how you see fit. Now bear in mind you've got some hidden power weapons in there already, but this is where the flexibility comes in. This is where I gave you that solid baseline. If you take that and then you spend the remaining 35 points on some fluff upgrades, that's fine. Okay, that's the army that I've been running, what I've been finding to be effective. Because what I've got there is I've got 6 las cannons in fire support with 6 plasma guns in fire support. Each one of those squads is got 8 goobers, sergeant and 6 lads guns, 7 goobers to eat wounds first for the plasma and the lads gun. They're going to draw fire, so those squads are going to take some damage. Meanwhile, you've got your veterans who are giving you fire support as well. You've got your auto cannons which are giving you fire support. You've got all your infantry pushing forward, and your opponent cannot ignore that because all those infantry are going to be like combining squads. They're going to be first rank firing, second rank firing. They're going to be pushing out a huge amount of firepower. Now, I know some of you are going to be going, I do things differently, and that's absolutely fine. I've done it, I've presented the list in that way so that it's easy for you to follow. But there are some key changes you can make, which we'll go through now. This is the final bit. So the final thing to talk, second to last thing to talk about is regiment choices. Now, how I choose to do my regiments is like this. I like to have my assault infantry as Mordians and my fire support infantry and choices as Cadians. Okay? And the reason we do that is because my fire support units are unlikely to be moving and therefore going to get the most benefit from the Cadian orders and the ability to stand still. Rerolling all those ones and being able to put overlapping fields of fire on a unit as well is very important. Okay, so I know what some of you will be thinking. Some of you will be saying, but why would you have, why? Because your veterans of fire support. This is where it gets a bit complicated. This is where I should say the reason I have the Mordian infantry as my assault infantry is because of the 5+ Overwatch and the extra leadership. My experience has been that often your commissars will die, which is fine, but you need, and often your command squads will be providing leadership buffs to your Cadians, and because they're long range fire support with the 3 sniper rifles. So the fact that the Mordians have that built-in +1 leadership, if you keep them all ranked up, is good, but you don't need to have them all ranked up all the time because you've got your commissars buffing them out. And also you've got your 5+ Overwatch makes them really good because they're frontline infantry guys. So the fact that you can march forward blazing away, and if someone decides to come in and charge you, well, you've got 12 infantry squads with 5+ Overwatch and a melter gun in each squad. Yeah, that's pretty powerful. Now, there are some things I want to say. So last things I want to. So it's going to get a bit more complicated. You can optimize the list by switching up the elite choices. Okay, now I'd keep the special weapons squads in with the Mordians. They're going to be pushing up. Okay, but your command squads can technically all go in the Cadian Battalion, and they'll be staying still. Then they'll get reroll, your reroll ones to hit, and all your heavy weapon squads can go in the Cadian Battalion as well, because you can take 3 heavy support choices, and all the commissars and the astropaths can go in the 2 Mordian battalions, because they're not regimental, so it literally doesn't matter. They're support characters, so they literally doesn't matter which regiment they go with, they'll do the same buffs anyway. So bear that in mind. So that's just a little thing to optimize it. Another thing I would say is there will be a lot of people. You have some points left over, so you can take Creed. If you shimmy the points around, you can take Creed, which will give you for your Cadian Battalion, which will give you. You could get rid of one of your Lord Commissars and put Creed in there instead with some of the spare points you've got left over. Easily done. And you can start building up fire-based Creed that way. You can also, if you're concerned about units hiding out of line of sight, very, very valid point, especially if you're going to an ITC tournament, you can downgrade your autocannon heavy weapon teams to mortar heavy weapon teams. And that will save you some points. And what you can do instead, if you are really into your plasma, and plasma is still the meta, if you're really into your plasma, what you can do is you can give all your assault squads plasma guns instead, which will save you a huge amount of points, plus the points you save from the mortars. What you can do with all those points is you can upgrade each one of your infantry squads, the sergeant, to have a plasma pistol. And you can also start looking at giving your special weapons squads plasma guns as well. You can consider doing that, because it's only 4 points to upgrade from grenade launcher plasma. So there's a lot of little tweaks you can do. There's a lot of different tweaks you can do to the list, but I've given you the general base. Okay, season as you will. I've given you the base meal. Now you apply your own seasoning. The key is that you've got 2 battalions dedicated towards attacking, 1 battalion dedicated towards fire support, because all your other elements like command squads, special weapons squads, heavy weapons squads, all that stuff will go and make up the rest of your fire support. That's what I would consider doing. Okay. Now that gives you a little bit of variety. Now there is also, like I said, plenty. The thing is, there's plenty of room for flexibility in this list. Okay, but that's what I found has worked. But what I'm speaking through options with you now. Now, you might find if you're running if you want more fire support, you might find that you just want as many heavy weapons in there as possible. What you can consider, there's a reason I told you to budget for about 10 points per infantry squad. Okay, with the melter gun. I use the melter gun as an easy example, right? Because you can then start going for things like, like I said, you could take a plasma gun and a plasma pistol. That's only 12 points. It's still within the same ballpark. Or if you want as many heavy weapons as possible, you can go for things like grenade launcher heavy bolter. It's only 11 points for grenade launcher heavy bolter on every single squad. Or you could go for grenade launcher autocan, a bit more pricey, 13 points per squad. But again, you can shift those points up and down now. You can shift the points up and down. If you end up deciding to take mortars on your heavy weapon squads and sniper rifles on your command squads, and all sniper rifles and special weapon squads, you'll start saving points. And you might think, I'm only going to save like a few points here and a few points there, but with the guard, that makes a huge difference. If you drop all your autocannons down to mortars, suddenly you've saved 45 points. Plus, if you drop all your Grenade launchers down to sniper rifles, you save yourself another 9 points. So now you're on, 54 points. Plus then if you drop each flag down to a sniper rifle, which actually gives you a boost in your firepower, you've saved another 6 points. So, is it 6 points? Yeah, 5. No, you saved 9 points again. Which means you're on 63 points? 63 points. Actually, that goes a long way in the Imperial Guard. 63 points goes a hell of a long way. That is a plasma pistol for every single infantry squad. Just done. Just done. In all your assault infantry squads, done. And so you have plasma pistol and melter gun. And then you start dropping your... So what I'm saying is great flexibility there. But you want to budget for between 10 and 15 points worth of upgrades for your infantry squads. That's the easy way of doing it. And that is what I have found to be generally very effective. Now, why is the list effective? Okay, this is the last thing we're going to say, because this is a longer video than I wanted to do. It works because you've got all your bases covered. You've got mobility. The reason you're not putting heavy weapons in your regular assault squads is because you want them to push forward. You don't want to be tempted to sit back and shoot that heavy weapon. You want them to advance, and you want them to push forward. But you also, so you've got a decent amount of forces which can go out and take the fight to the enemy. You're not gun lining. So you've got assault elements. Assault in inverted commas for the Imperial Guard. You've also got fire support. You've got 3 squads of veterans, 6 squads of infantry, 3 command squads, and 3 heavy weapon squads. That comes to 60 regulars, plus 10 veterans, plus the 30 support infantry from your various support squads. That's 100 infantry just on fire support. That's incredible. Now, in this list, it's important to point out how many infantry are in the list. You have 2 characters for your HQs, 3 for your support, your commissar, platoon commander, and astropath, 6 for your special weapons squad, 4 for your command squads, 10 for your veterans, plus 60 for infantry squads, plus 6, 91 infantry per battalion. You times that by 3, you've got 273 infantry. 100 of which are giving fire support, and 150-ish are attacking, and the rest is shit. Now I've got them mixed up. It's 120 which are in fire support, because you've got 3 squads of veterans. Yeah, 3 squads of veterans. 120 in fire support, and 150 including characters on the attack. So it's actually quite a nice balance. You've also got the ability to do mortal wounds in there. You're taking sniper rifles, and you've got your psychers as well. Again, don't forget, there's nothing in there with the way you can adjust your points. There's nothing in there from stopping you from upgrading your astropaths to Primaris psychers. But the reason I don't do that is because I have my astropaths pushing forward my assault infantry, and I have them use their ability to remove cover on enemy units, because what I found really difficult at the moment with this army is digging enemy units out of cover. It can be very, very nasty. Very difficult to do that. The reason that the setup I chose is so good is it literally works with any regiment choice. If you want Catachans on your assault infantry, you can do. If you want Steel Legion on everyone, it's good. It works. 18-inch rapid fire, thank you very much. If you want Valhallans, that works across the whole board, mitigating morale issues. Talon obviously gives you mobility. Mordian, as we've already discussed. Cadian, as we've already discussed. Frustroyan obviously would work pretty much universally across the whole army. It works really, really well. So there you go, guys. Tell me what you think. 273 infantry, that is a lot of infantry, all with good shooting. With the Cadians there, you've got the ability to mitigate -1 to hit modifiers as well. All looking very tasty. Lots of firepower, lots of close range support. Tell me what you guys think. Tell me what changes you would make. I will, if I remember, put a link to the list down in the description below. Thank you guys for watching, and of course, I'll see you guys next time.